Hello Farmville, I'm Sean Winder, and this is Lost Not Found, a series where I go around Farmville and ask people about what their favorite lost media may be, both in and outside of Farmville. Now, what classifies as lost media could be either, say, a movie that you've watched, or a game that you've played, or a TV show that you've watched, a book you've read, a store that you've gone to, all that either wasn't preserved properly, or you can't access it anymore. Would you like to introduce yourself, or...?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jamie Crowe. I'm the Archives and Special Collections Librarian at the Greenwood Library.
What do you think your favorite lost media is? Like something that hasn't been preserved, or something that's obscure? Like if there's anything specific, or like specific categories and such?
Yeah, I don't think I can pinpoint a specific thing, but I'm kind of fascinated as an archivist. I work to help preserve videos and audio files from discs to CDs, but I'm kind of really fascinated with the idea of preserving video games, because it's a very complex thing, and there's lots of old systems where you can't play an old video game on a new system, and they're not backwards compatible. So there's a lot of complexity there, and a lot of old computer games that I remember playing as a kid, that the whole concept a little bit beyond my ability to actually manage, but it's kind of a cool thing that I think is kind of interesting and something we kind of take for granted and don't think about.
I'm actually a pretty big fan of the video game lost media as well. I mean, we got the original concept of Conquer 64, and then prototypes of Sonic the Hedgehog that hasn't come to the public. Yeah, video game preservation is one of the bigger ones, if not the cartoons and films. That's another one I heavily follow. In Farmville specifically, do you think you could recall any lost media, maybe a lost band that used to play, maybe some lost music recordings, a lost store that used to be in business that isn't here?
I think, again, don't necessarily have a specific band or person, but I know, again, as a history person and Longwood, related and interested in Farmville history, some of the things, from the period when schools were closed, we're kind of missing some media from that, like photographs and interviews that people did. There's actually one very specific news article that was done by NBC in 1963 that they have in their archives, but it's not digitized, and you have to get a permissions to access it, and it costs extra money. But it's something I've always wanted to be able to see, but because it's still on the old format media, it's a huge process to go through to get access to it and get to be able to watch it. So there's some things like that I'm kind of interested in, but we don't really have all the records, and they're scattered all over the place, so it's hard to get a read on where they are and who has them and what formats they're in. So,
are you at all familiar with the Sesame Street lost media, with the Wicked Witch of the West, the cracks and everything like that?
I'm not familiar with that at all, sorry.
No, that's what you were just saying a minute ago actually sounds very familiar. You needed very special permission when Sesame Street decided to release a lot of their episodes from the vault, because they banned a lot of their stuff. The Wicked Witch episode being too scary. Yeah. Cracks, because drug stuff, because the character's name was Crack Monster or Crack Master or something like that. So they banned them for a while, and then years later for their anniversary, they submitted everything to Congress, but you had to have special permission to go see it. Then somebody somehow got a hold of the exact digitized version of the Wicked Witch episode and then released it to the public with no explanation at all.
Yeah, I mean, and copyright definitely adds an extra level to lost media or hard to access media, because there are restrictions, especially if a company still owns it. They can do what they want with it, and so they tend to be restrictive. Disney's always put those, we're going to put it back in the vault, and you're not going to access it until we release it again, and all these different hoops you have to jump through to just be able to watch an old Disney movie that you grew up with in the 90s.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before you sign off?
No, I mean, I think this is really interesting. As an archivist, I work to preserve, physical materials, whether it's paper to these audio-visual materials, and it's all really complex, and every material is a little bit different and unique, so it's kind of fun that you guys are interested in some of this stuff, and it was fun to talk about, so thanks.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks.
Tune in next week for another episode of Lost Not Found at AM 870 or WFLO.net.